All right, everybody, welcome to another edition of What's What PR. Today we have Robyn Lott from the Breck's Baton Rouge Zoo. How are you, Robyn?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. It's perfect weather, but I realized it snuck into. We've got like 80s now showing up that are kind of coming in.
It's nice. It's good for the zoo.
Good for the zoo, yeah. But like 3 weeks before when it was like 10. So we
Nice.
go from
Right.
it's interesting. So tell me what's going on for anybody who hadn't gotten the latest update. What's going on? Kind of what's the state of the zoo?
Yeah.
In the days that we live in these days.
Well, everything's going great. We have had truly fantastic attendance during all of the COVID timeframe that we've all undergone over the last year. The zoo was closed for a couple of months, mid-March to mid-May. And we did everything we could during that time to reach our audiences with virtual and things of that nature. But since we reopened in May, we have had record numbers of attendees. And I think that is partially due to the fact that we're one of the only family entertainment venues in town that's even available at the moment. In addition, because we are so vast and big and outside, it makes it really easy for folks to spread out. They feel a little safer when they come here because it's not indoors, it's not cramped. We also don't have a mask mandate as long as folks are outside and they're social distancing. So I think for all of those reasons, we've really seen great numbers. We've also had some beautiful weather thus far this year, other than the ice storm that you mentioned, which we did have to close for a couple of days as well. But the combination, I think, of the beautiful weather coupled with the open air space that we have has really led to some amazing numbers. In fact, in January of this year, the zoo had the largest attendance we've ever had for any January in the 51 years of the zoo's history, or at least as long as we've been keeping record. So
wow,
it
that's
was
a pretty big. That's good to hear.
Great. Say what?
Helps. I said that's good to hear. It helps the
Yeah.
zoo, helps the community, helps everything. So
It
really
is.
good.
It is. It makes us happy. And then certainly we're about to embark. We're actually embarking now outside my door. We've got some construction that's starting. And so it will be exciting as we start our phased renovations for folks to continue to come. So we don't want that to keep them from coming. We want them to see stuff happening and be like, I want to come back again in a few months and kind of see what progress they've made or where they are on things. So we're just initiating some of we got trees coming down and they're starting to make way for the new giraffe barn. And so over the next year, as you visit the zoo, it will be a bit of an adventure, but that adventure is going to lead to some really exciting final effects.
Well, that's good. Was not even aware that there was.
Well, that's part of our the master plan for the zoo that was developed. I want to say it was approved a couple years ago, but it's taken this long to get phase one off the ground. And Breck is funding fully the first phase. It's a multi-million-dollar upgrade to the zoo as well as Greenwood Park. And so folks will, once it's done, within about 18 months, the phase one will be done. And folks will enter the zoo through Greenwood Park's entry. So it'll be a really pretty winding sequence through the park, and then there will be some really fun and exciting things folks can do in the park. We'll have like a shared parking lot, and then you can go across like a bayou promenade and come to the zoo and do some of the cool and fun, exciting new things we're going to have at the zoo. So it'll really be a destination for Baton Rouge.
I haven't been to a lot of zoos around the country. I've been to this one, but that seems almost like a kind of a common theme.
It's pretty normal. It's actually pretty normal for zoos to combine next to some other form of an attraction or a park or something of that nature. So it should lead to positive effect for all parties involved. I mean, the park is beautiful as it is, and many people may not even know about what all it has to offer. And so when the new pieces and parts are added, it will have its own form of attraction for folks that enjoy that kind of activity. The zoo has our own, and then the combination of the two, we've talked about it could very easily become a weekend spot that you want to come. And you could literally spend a day doing all the park activities. If someone was visiting from out of town, stay overnight and then do the zoo the next day or vice versa. So it will definitely be a really nice added bonus for family activity, entertainment, conservation, education, all that stuff for Baton Rouge. And it's gonna be fun. It's gonna be exciting.
Awesome. Well, that's some good news. Well, tell me what's going on. I think, I wanted to talk with you about how y'all were changing around some of the birthday parties and some different
Yes.
things, which
Yes.
seems like that would be the hot button. I know my kids, have in their minds, they didn't get a birthday, this
Yeah.
last year is what they've said. They fell, they're after the March, deadline, all of them. So they feel like they didn't get one. So they want a do over is what they're asking me. So, but you guys are doing a little different twist on it, and it's kind of taken off.
We are. We've had birthday parties for a very long time, and they are super successful and super popular. And basically, we put parties on hold. We paused everything around mid-March of last year when everything hit the fan, and they've been on pause up until just recently, because we were looking for ways that we could offer the parties in a way that people feel safe, we feel safe, and that we feel like with good conscience, we can offer something that everyone feels comfortable doing. So basically what we're doing with the parties is, it's very similar to a party that a lot of folks have had zoo parties in the past. It is relatively similar. The big change is that instead of the party room being in our education classroom, which is typically where it always was located, that spot is relatively small. And so we have moved it to the Capital One Pavilion, which is at the front of the zoo. It's a very large footprint. It's covered, it's outdoors, ceiling fans. It actually has private restrooms in that area. And so it's really somewhat of an upgrade. It's the same price. We have not changed the prices for the parties, but it's somewhat of an upgrade because you really get that entire pavilion area for your party for an hour and a half versus the small room that was more toward the rear area of the zoo. So I think, if it were me, I would probably prefer a party in the pavilion than I would have in the original space. The reason we haven't had them there all the time is that we do use the pavilion for other events and activities. So it does hurt us to touch in that, for example, we have Zippity Zoo Fest coming up at the end of March. We will use the pavilion for entertainment and things of that nature. And on that weekend, we will not be able to host birthday parties because one has to win over the other. So by having it in the pavilion, it does limit us to not being able to do it every single weekend if the zoo were to have a very big, large scale event that needed the space. But the other big thing that's changed is in the past, folks at the birthday party, one of the big added bonus is to ride the train. And at the moment, our interpretation of the guidelines provided by the state are that amusements cannot operate. So instead of the train, we are doing a lot of crafts, and they are individually packaged crafts that the kids do at spaced out stations under the pavilion. We can play any kind of music. We have all kinds of fun, like zoo tribal music, but we also have like kids bop and things of that nature. And we started booking in February for March parties. So we didn't start having parties until this past weekend. And I'm told, I was not here for the parties, but I'm told by those who put them on that they were a major success, that the kids loved the crafts. And we are officially fully booked for March, and we are almost fully booked for April at this point. So the parties are, and no one is seeming to be disappointed or upset that the format has shifted to some degree. But they still get the cupcakes, they still get the zoo themed tableware. We still bring ambassador animals out. The only difference is there's no touching. So they still get to hear about the animal from our education department and learn and be somewhat near them, but there's not actually any tactile components to it any longer. But other than that, and then of course the big bonus of any zoo party is that anyone who attends the party has free admission to the zoo the whole rest of the day. So it's not just a party. So we offer them at 10 a.m. and 2 p.m. So if you have a 10 a.m. party, folks can come for your party. And then once the party's done, they can spend the rest of the afternoon in the zoo. So
that's what I was going to say. A lot of the party places, it's birthday parties are big business for a lot of people, a lot of companies, but they usher you through, right? It's like, here's your start time, here's your end time, throw everything in a bag, all your presents, move out. We got to get another crowd in. And that's what I've always thought the zoo was. You could bring the little ones or the kids going to the party and the older kids or the parent, hey, do party, we're going to walk around, you know, we're going to explore the zoo, and then when it's over, we'll do it as a family.
Yep.
You know, you're not stuck, because to me, a lot of the parties lately were always, it was like drop the kids off and then come back and get them in an hour and a half. I'm like, I can't get anything done in an hour and a half.
Oh, I know.
Like, basically, I got to go sit in the car for an hour and a half, you know,
Right.
where I stand there and talk, you know, but this is like I said, it's a full day. You got other things that you can actually do there. So what is, I guess, from a, you know, for anybody who's, you know, animals are all still moving, shaking, you know, they don't know what's going on, right?
Well, they're starting to sense it. So with some of the construction that's beginning, so we've had some trees taken down, and so there's some noise. They're keyed in on it. They're not disturbed by it, but they're certainly, some of them are definitely aware that something's different. Things are happening, you know. I think it will increase certainly as we start to do bigger, louder, like pilings into the ground and things of that nature. But we already have it in the plans that in certain areas, if animals were to be disturbed, or there would be a fear factor, a component with it, they'll be relocated to, you know, back holding area, their barn, a comfortable spot for them where they're not right out in the middle of it and would be potentially startled by it. So be a lot of changes and modifications to make them comfortable.
And I think it's worth, you know, noting, just to kind of, from the, you know, the staff, for everybody, really, just sometimes I catch myself, you overlook the obvious, but even like you said, when you were closed down for those months, you're closed down to the public, but nothing stops inside, you know, absolutely, the walls,
no.
You know, the zoo, you got everything having to happen.
You know, we're used to that, because I guess folks don't realize that, you know, even though the zoo isn't open on Christmas or New Year's or Thanksgiving, the animals still have to eat. They still have needs. And so our staff, we're kind of used to being a 365-day-a-year facility. The caretakers for the animals, the folks who prep their food, the keepers that take care of them, the veterinary staff, everyone, they really don't get, there's never a gap, basically. So, so they're accustomed to that. And to be quite frank, they kind of loved that time frame where we were closed, because they got a lot of extra time to do extra with the animals, because they weren't necessarily on exhibit. So they had longer periods of time where they could do enrichments, or they could do checkups or things like that. So, and we also utilize the time wisely by doing some, if you haven't been to the zoo lately, I think you'll notice some changes. We have, irregardless of the renovations that are starting, we did a lot of spring cleaning during that closure. So we did a lot of painting, a lot of cleaning out brush, just stuff that it's really hard to do some of that while we're open to the public. And we're literally only closed 4 or 5 days out of the year. So, and we're open from 9:30 a.m. to either 4 or 5 p.m., depending on the time of year. So you can see where you're very limited on when can you do those big projects. And so we used the time wisely. We were really fortunate during that time. We did not have to lay anybody off. There were, you know, we were able to relocate. If someone typically worked in a guest facing role, then they could be repurposed and utilized in another way that was helping us with some of the long-term cleanup projects and things of that nature that we needed help with. So that was very, we were very thankful for that.
Well, that's good to hear. A lot of people weren't as fortunate. So
yeah, exactly.
So it sounds like things are, you know, moving and shaking at the zoo. It's hopping, you know, for lack of better words. And so what is this? You mentioned just real quickly the Zippity Zoo Fest, that's going on.
Yeah, Zippity Zoo Fest is our annual, it's the birthday party for the zoo. So the zoo's birthday is March 29th. We opened on Easter Sunday. It'll be 51 years this year. Last year was our 50th, and we got robbed of it because it fell during the first couple weeks of the lockdown. So we had a huge party planned that all had to be canceled. But nonetheless, we are having it this year, and it will still be great, but it will be modified. There are a lot of things that, for obvious reasons, I think most people will understand we're not able to do. So it's basically a spring festival. And so some of the things we've done in the past included having big inflatables. We did face painting. Those are things we're not going to be able to have this time because of obvious reasons with close contact and germs. But we are having one of the big hits every year is we have the princesses and some of the other special characters like Mickey Mouse, Minnie Mouse, that kind of thing. They will be coming out both days for socially distanced meet and greets and photo ops. We also have about a dozen or so performance groups that are coming out that'll be performing. The event is on the 27th and 28th of March. So it's a Saturday and Sunday. So we'll have some of those will perform on Saturday, some on Sunday, but we will have them under the pavilion, and they range from everything from singing groups, dancing groups, karate, bands, musicians. So it's going to be a lot of fun. That will, we've always done that, but we weren't sure if we'd get the same participation this year considering the situation. But folks, if they're performers, they are eager and ready to get out in front of audiences again. So we're excited about that. We have at least another dozen community groups that are coming in that will be dispersed throughout the perimeter of the zoo. So as you're walking the zoo, you might come into contact with Breck on the Go, where they have some fun activities like exercise and hula hooping and things like that. We'll have the Dare car will be out. We have a lady that does knitting. So there's some fun little learning and interactive booths as you make your way around the zoo. And then we also have the photo contest that we do every year that was sponsored by the Advocate. And this year we had about 100 photos that were submitted. And then what we do at Zippity is that's sort of when we unveil the winners. And so all of the winning pieces will be displayed at Zippity Zoo Fest under a tent that's near the stage. And probably everybody's favorite part is we have free birthday cake since it's our birthday. So, and Rouse's generally provides that as a donation. So we're thankful for that. And then one new thing we're adding this year is while supplies last, as folks leave, we're doing party favors. Just like you went to a regular birthday party and you leave and you get a party favor, we're going to have a little party favor for the kids. So it's going to be a lot of fun. Hopefully the weather stays like it has been. But we've got a lot of folks that are anxious and eager to get back out and help us celebrate spring, the zoo, our anniversary, being back in business, all those good things.
Is there a tip? Do you go early? Do you go late? Or does it not matter because there's just so many people
I can
probably
tell you,
there?
Typically on a Saturday morning, we open at 9:30. So typically a Saturday from 10 to maybe 1 is going to be our busiest time. On Sundays, it's the opposite. It's the afternoons. And I presume that's due to church. Gotcha. So on Saturdays, we're the busiest from say 10 to 1, and the Sundays we're busiest from like that 1 to 4.
Okay. So
if you want to go at the least busy time, Saturday late and Sunday early.
There we go. So that's probably, I'm assuming Saturdays people are trying to beat the heat. So they're running in early in the morning, maybe, right?
It's either that, or I often see, this is anecdotal, but it tends to be those that have the little toddlers that are on schedules, the little ones that they're like, we got to be home for a nap. They're going on Saturday, they're getting that activity. And then maybe Sunday they do their chores and stuff. But I do tend to see that Saturdays tend to be the littler kids. Gotcha. That are trying to get in at 10 and be home by noon so they can do the nap and all that good stuff.
I could use a nap on Saturdays.
I know, right?
Never happens in my life. Well, look, I think it sounds like things, like I said, are really moving over there. Appreciate you taking some time to tell us kind of what's going on. And the birthday parties really sounds like it. Book it now, right?
Yeah,
already, we're in March, April's almost done.
Don't wait until you, when your kid's birthday is, right? Like if you just say, this sounds really fun and I want to do it, and your child's birthday is not till September, I would go ahead and book it now. We're booking through the end of the year. So it's not like we're only booking a month or two out, but I would go ahead and take it while you can. It's
the same thing I tell people. People say it with Christmas all the time. It's like it snuck up on me. I'm like, They didn't change the date.
December 25th,
your kid's birthday, it doesn't change. So if you like this idea, book it.
Right.
Is there, and I guess the last thing, question that we'll let you run, but do people need to worry since you've now got the pavilion, that if it does get a little bit of rain, or something like that, is it, hey, it's not that, it's not as much of a concern because we do have the pavilion. There's some indoor,
Sure.
things.
Yeah. I mean, it's definitely a consideration. If it is a torrential downpour, it isn't ideal, but it's the surface area for the pavilion is huge. I could not tell you the dimensions, but it's a massive structure. So, I wouldn't stand on the outer edges, but if it were raining, everything just kind of comes in 6 or 8 feet from the edges, and it should still be fine. So that is definitely a consideration, that we can't promise anything with weather. That's one of the bonuses of being, it's kind of a plus and a minus of being an outdoor venue. Right now, the positive is everybody wants to be outside. The negative is if the weather's not good, there's not a whole lot we can do about it. So that would be another, consideration. If whether we're going to make or break someone's enjoyment of the event, then it might not be an ideal scenario for them. But I would think that at least the party itself, maybe not your zoo roaming time, but you would stay pretty dry.
That's what I'm saying. Is it would the zoo call the party at that point, or would the parents? It's like, hey, you can still come because you still have it because you've got the pavilion, and very rarely does it just torrential downpours all day long. You've got these pockets, that people can still come and enjoy. So it's not like
you've got like a window, and I can't tell you the exact number of days, but we've got a window where you basically can't cancel a party the morning of or the day of, but it's a certain number of days out, kind of like when you rent an inflatable, and, within 3 days prior to the event, there is a cancellation fee. But if you look at the forecast and it's like, tornadic conditions, you can cancel up to a certain few days prior. Yeah.
But they've got the pavilion, and like I said, it's going to stop, and there's pockets you can get around it.
Yeah, most of the time. And sometimes people just have a really good time in the rain. We had Brew at the Zoo 2 years ago, and we had a true monsoon hit as the event was starting. And of course, as the event planner, it killed me. I mean, things were flying everywhere. Everything was soaking wet. I thought this is going to ruin it. And people had a blast. They all got wet. Everybody bought ponchos in the gift shop, umbrellas. Everyone soaked. And then once the rain stopped, it was just like a mud party. I mean, I know that sounds crazy, but like it kind of eliminated the any fancy factor that was there. It was just kind of like, it's casual and it's fun. We're all wet, so we'll have a good time.
Well, people will sit and watch a football game in the rain, so why not? Keep our so. Well, look, I appreciate all the time telling us what's going on. We'll have to have you back, maybe talk, what's going on with renovations, get the updates. See kind of how it goes. But I appreciate you stopping by and talking to us. We'll do it again.
Appreciate it.
All right. Well, you have a great day.
You too. Bye-bye.